My name is Don Lockerbie, and I'm with the Parker Company. We have with us Graham Dimond.
Exactly. And Nick Likos.
Nick Likos. And what I thought I would do, since I did a little bit of talking at lunchtime, was simply go over the new model of procurement and pricing that we believe is out there for stadiums around the world that heretofore hasn't been there. Again, if you heard me at lunch, it's the hotel model. Obviously, every stadium and arena in the world that is currently operating got their FF&E somewhere. So it's not like we're introducing a new topic. You bought your chairs and your tables, you got your soccer goals, you got your turf fields, your televisions, your video boards. But the new model is that for the last 50 years, most of the stadiums and arenas we know about have basically looked in catalogs. Their director of operations has put together a small committee. They've kind of asked everybody for a wish list. And quite honestly, I know stadiums where the owner's wife or the owner's executive assistant spent days looking at catalogs and making orders from Amazon, Alibaba, or went to the local Home Depot or whatever would be the right store. And that's effectively where a lot of the operating supplies and equipment came from. Sure enough, we've got catering that we're going to be talking about. We've got premium furniture in the suites that the architects have for sure spent many laborious hours designing. But the fact of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, is that FF&E and the things that we bring to the table are absolutely last on the list. And sometimes for good reason. They're last on the list because they're the last things to go in. You're not going to put up your expensive televisions, your pots and pans, and your decorative items until it's time to operate the venue. The contractors pretty much need to be done. The place is done and dusted. It's cleaned. It's ready to go. It's just empty. But obviously, you cannot run a stadium without the FF&E. You can't cook the food. You can't supply the food. You've got nothing for the servers to use. You have no chairs and tables, fancy couches, lamps. You have no lounge. You have no dressing room. You have no medical services. You have no press box. Because all it is concrete, glass, walls, and electrical outlets and plumbing. That's what the stadium is. That's what you've watched get built for 1 to 4 years. And it's empty. And then all of a sudden, this stuff starts arriving in trucks and has to be placed, installed, and then your team needs to know how to work it. And why in the world it's left to the last second has troubled us, and we've had trouble figuring it out. So we created a new model, and we stole the idea from the hotels. The hotels build their hotels around the FF&E. What we do is we fill up the stadiums with FF&E and try to take care of empty places. So we're trying to create a new model. The next thing that you want to know is that FF&E is a wet finger on a board trying to figure out what it is. And I don't care what project you have. Your FF&E is an afterthought. Your FF&E is some project manager, and I've been one, or the architects, and I work with them every day, basically say, well, what do you think? 4%? 5%? Let's put down 6% of the construction budget. That should be enough for the FF&E. And it's on the last line item of your budget. It's down there near miscellaneous, near contingency, and sometimes near architect's fees. There it is, FF&E. And then next to it, it says, owner's responsibility. Why? The architects will design the beautiful furniture, but they're not going to give a hoot about your trash cans, your coffee maker, your mini fridge, your wall items, certain softwares, certain technologies. They're not in that business. The general contractor is not going to go out, or shouldn't be going out, buying your couch or your table or your chafing dishes. All they're going to do is mark it up 20 to 40%, and you're paying for that. So the new model is to bring in a procurement agency who essentially is the general contractor for all the soft goods. As I said before, take the stadium, turn it upside down. Everything that moves, shakes, or comes in a box is FF&E. Sometimes in our industry we'll call the premium furniture the FF&E and the operating supplies and equipment the OS&E. But in the bigger scheme of things, it's FF&E. The thing that you want to look for is this. Because people have done this and put a percentage on your budget, if you wait till the very end, half the time when we get brought into the project, and Parker is brought into the project, half the time we're being brought in with somebody saying, can you save us money? We're $2 million, $4 million, $6 million over budget. We've got a $10 million FF&E budget, and we don't want to spend $10 million. We only want to spend $6 million. Save us $4 million. Sometimes it's rather simple to do it because somebody just did this. But because you've been holding that $10 million, $20 million, $5 million, $50 million FF&E budget, and no one's gone through with what it includes, with 10 months to go, we might have saved you $4 million. We might have saved you $5 million. I said at lunch we're saving the Los Angeles Rams so far $32 million on their budget. The smallest stadium, we've saved at least $1 million on their FF&E budget. That's $1 million that could have gone into the architects having value engineered something out. Half the time we're sitting in projects and we hear, oh, remove that, we can't afford it. If you knew early that your FF&E budget might have been smaller, then you might have included in the construction, and that's the value engineering. That's the value, the added value that we bring to the table. If we're in early, we'll give you a real FF&E budget, not a fake one. And we'll be able to help work with your design team and your contractors. But I'll tell you some secrets to the trade. For us, FF&E includes stadium seats. Why? Why do you want to give a general contractor a 20% markup on a plastic chair that comes in a box and gets screwed in by the seating company who made it? To us, it's just another chair. There might be 20,000 of them or 70,000 of them. But since we don't mark up anything, we just saved you 20% on your chairs. We saved you 10 or 20% on your video boards. We absolutely save you 20 to 50% on the televisions you buy and on the furniture. Because, and I'm going to finish, Parker creates a flat fee. We bid everything out. We have no married relationship with anybody, but after 50 years, we've worked with everybody. So everybody that we believe has a chance gets to bid. We give you the open book. You pick and choose the products you want. And likely, it's well under the budget somebody did like this. We've been working in hotels for about 40 years in the UK and Europe and the Middle East. We do more work in the US. I'd like to introduce Tom Roach, who's in the very back row. I hope he can hear me, but Tom is now working here in London. So Parker does have a sports and events office here in London. And what I thought we would do is just, again, talk about the whole model. If you're renovating a stadium, a new stand, and you're thinking new hospitality areas, from bars, restaurants, club space, you're going to need the general contractor. You're going to need the architect, the design team, of course, and we work closely with both. We're not a replacement in any way. We're part of the team. But we're your internal purchasing agency. And now that we've been working on the number of stadiums around the world that we have, we think we have a model that you might find interesting. Now what's interesting is we have two companies up here today that have been absolutely winning some of the Parker projects and working on some of the most spectacular new stadiums in the United States. And so I'm going to let both Graham and Nick speak about their own companies, and then we can, and they've got presentations, and we'd be happy to answer any questions right before cocktail hour.
Great. Thanks, Don. Hello everyone, my name's Nick Likos. I'm the Global Head of Sales for Spring USA. Based out of Chicago. I've been with the company about 15 years. I'm going to tell you a bit about our organization, what we're known for, our history and breadth and reach of the organization, and talk about new builds, stadiums, how we've been involved with them, the value we've brought, refreshes, and remodels. So I'll make this fairly quick. This is an induction buffet systems, Comerica Park in Detroit, and this is our basic induction buffet system that we invented 22 years ago. So what we're known for, we basically came up with the idea of putting a vessel on top of an induction range. For those of you who do not know what induction is, or a quick refresher, there's a copper coil under the glass. When a ferrous metal enters into the electromagnetic field, it excites the molecules in the pan. It heats the pan, but not the glass. So if you see the round vessels here, Marriott 22 years ago said, hey, can you put a paella pan on top of your induction range? I said, yeah. Can you put a cover on it? We said, yeah, put a cover. Said, no, can you put an axle on it? Said, no, it doesn't exist in the world. So we took the axles off of a K2509 roll top chafing dish, welded them to 2 paella pans, and created the world's first induction chafer. It's a worldwide standard. In Macau, I was at the Sands. We have 32 of them on the buffet. O2 Arena has over 300 of our induction ranges in the suites. And I'll talk about where we're at in the U.S. The yellow dots are basically where we are. We're in over 150 stadiums and arenas in North and South America and around the world. A couple of the latest projects are Mercedes-Benz, SunTrust, Azteca. We remodeled the Azteca, one of the largest stadiums in Latin America. This is a quick, what Don was saying. I just wanted to lay it out quickly. What we look at as a manufacturer of equipment within suites, there's the owner, hires the architect. We talk to the architects often, Populous, HOK, and they hire TVS, for example, in this job. So Denise Gaffney with Levy, I live 2 blocks from Levy Corporate in Chicago. Nick, can you fly down to Atlanta, work with them, and share them that SmartStone technology you have? And basically, it's induction under stone, and it's a trivet-less system. You don't need a radio frequency trivet to activate the system. And that point on, we work with the general contractors, and then we have our SmartStone installation team. Talking about new builds, this right here is an extraction system. It's a downdraft filtration system that grabs smoke, grease-laden vapor, and particulates from the room. So the curtains won't smell, the suite will stay clean. This, for example, is an owner suite, a Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it falls into a residential authority code approval. We do have approvals in North America for the downdraft filtration. It doesn't need fire suppression. So because our induction range doesn't go over 550 degrees Fahrenheit, flashpoint 620, it cannot ignite a flame. So as a result, you don't need a fire suppression system. So it also has our hidden induction ranges underneath this countertop. The flute or intake can be removed, and it's a clean surface. This right here, it was a space, it's a Jacksonville Jaguars. Their concern or issue was, we do not want to be down more than a week for construction, demo, and rebuild. So SMG corporate approached me and said, Nick, can you make 68 tables in about 6 weeks with your SmartStone technology? I want them to arrive, create it, we'll uncreate them, move them into the room, plug them in, and play. So with this, there was no extra dust, no added install team. It fit a certain price point of about $8,000 per table. So this is about price and refreshing. So about $8,000 a table with 3 induction ranges each under the stone. The future ones had the control boxes more hidden behind the space, but cooking in the suites is also becoming more prevalent in the US. That's a mobile induction cooking station. We matched the wood to the existing millwork that was in the suite. This is just a quick skeleton view of the induction ranges under the stone. We We have a drop down piano hinge with the controls, and the vessel, the platform falls on top of the ranges mounted underneath. This is Little Caesars Arena. They wanted an island in this club, but it wasn't built in. They were semi-mobile, and it basically was stationary with 4-inch casters. But they wanted hidden induction and hidden frost top. If you look at the next slide, this actually shows a close-up of what the hidden frost top is. It actually cools the surface within the suite. So if you have desserts or vessels, you need the right vessel to transfer the cold. This is a skeleton view, a deconstructed view of the hidden frost top. Now, the range and the frost top only pulls 20 amps. Those of you with older suites know there's only maybe one 20 amp circuit in the suite. It's a new arena we're working on. They're looking at our cooking stations, our mobile frost tops. This was a budget issue. Petco Park had $1,800 US dollars to refresh their food service in their suites. $1,800. I said, that's a tough one, sir. And he said, what do you have? You can see it faintly. It's a heat lamp and a warming tray. This is a better picture of it. So the two heat lamps were about $400 US. The two warming trays were about $180. They're less than 10 pounds, less than 2 amps, and less than $200. So basically, it offered the flexibility of the chef with different vessels to offer the food and keep it hot. If you see to the left, it's a more trending matte black finish of our heat lamp and our warming tray. Following on with colors and trends, the Cleveland Cavaliers, when they were in the playoffs, the owner said, can you color our Schaefers? Can you color them maroon? So if you see the upper left-hand corner, we created our seasons line and colored our vessels, which if you lift the cover up, all the condensation channels through back under, keeps the food moist but not soggy, has the function of a chafing dish but not being a traditional chafer. If you see, they're on 5 induction ranges. Those 5 induction ranges can plug into one 20 amp circuit in the suite. The black was used at the Nashville Predators, and then the blue is being explored by the Yankees right now. This is the world's first hot-cold vessel. No water, no ice, no Freon. It goes from -2 Celsius to 80 Celsius in 20 minutes. So it can hold hot foods at one point, and then if you want to serve ice cream in the suites, put ice cream in there. And it only pulls 1.9 amps. So hypothetically, you plug 8 of them into a suite. This setup is a modular buffet setup. Setup and breakdown about $3,500. A lot of minor league ballparks, Auburn University, Arkansas, a lot of the U.S. universities are going to this application. And then more trends. This is, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Stowe Le Creuset. This is our new iron light. It's 50% lighter than cast iron, about 30% less expensive. I weighed the cover of a Le Creuset, and that was 7 pounds. And that was heavier than this whole vessel. And this can work on gas, electric, warming trays, or induction. Finally, this is our jewel box. That's Marstone technology on a box form. We fully cladded the warming induction range. That's actually the back of it. The front of it has the stone. So if you want elevation, energy efficient, we have these options available. So I'll now pass it over to Graham.
I want to talk a little about what we do at IHS. And, you know, we've had the great pleasure to work with Parker for many years. We come traditionally from a hotel hospitality background. We've done many great projects with Parker Company over the years, all over the world. And this venue market is quite new for us, but I think Don touched on some great topics that traditionally, and we had a discussion this morning, the venue hospitality business was very basic. It was a cold hot dog in the back of a cold empty stadium, and I think, you know, talking about that whole thing, you know, differentiating the venues, creating a better guest experience, and ultimately selling the space beyond game day. They've taken a lot of lead from hospitality, and particularly, you know, the five-star hotel experience. What do we do? IHS is an Australian. I always think of us as the new angry kid on the block. In effect, we're actually a 30-year-old company. We conceptualize, design, and manufacture groundbreaking product for event spaces. We are designers, consultants. We don't just sell product, we sell ideas. And I think what we did is we looked at a pretty mediocre market in terms of what operating equipment was out there, and we changed it. We said, why can't you have aesthetics with functional longevity in your operating equipment? So yeah, we started out questioning that something better could be done, and I think we've done that. We've made a name for ourselves in the hotel industry. We're aligned, as Nick is, with most of the major chains worldwide. And also coming from Melbourne, it's a big cultural. I've just got back 2 days ago. It's a huge cultural melting pot. They're right at the edge of the curve in terms of food service and food culture. And I think, you know, all of that fits in with how we've developed as a business. We pioneered linen-free in dining, in buffet concepts, in conference and banqueting, and we have huge ROI savings and sustainability by saving, you know, laundry costs, linen rental. Our labour savings, you know, product that will go up and 4 times, you know, our rollaway tables will go up, set up and take down 4 times faster than traditional tables. One man operation. We worked with Marriott on some data, you know, ROI data, and we worked on a region, so you know, their portfolio across the Middle East, and the data was staggering. We used real numbers. We looked at hourly labour costs and linen costs, and we figured we could save in 1 year many millions of dollars just in labour costs and linen costs. And you know, that can be transferred obviously into our industry. I think the other thing that really sets us apart is a lot of our people have worked in the industry. They've been at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, tearing down furniture, setting up another service. So we understand, you know, the trials and tribulations of working in that market, and that transfers into how we design our furniture. We have chefs. We have one of the most respected chefs in Australia at the moment working with us, and that enables us to consult with executive chefs and food and beverage directors to understand their buffet flow, you know, how they want to create their food and dining concepts. You know, we understand logistics, we understand the spaces, we have extensive space management people who will show beautiful renders of what you can achieve in your space. As I say, predominantly our business was the hotel side of hospitality, but we have had some great projects in the venue market. As with Nick, we supplied the Mercedes-Benz Atlanta. We've also put some live cooking in there and some of our other table concepts. We've done Wembley here, we've done Melbourne Cricket Ground, Crown Casino Melbourne, Etihad Stadium, and most recently Arsenal. So we are very keen to transfer some of what we've learned and some of our designs from our hospitality experience into this market. And I think it's a lot of it is multi-purpose use of space. We have products that can, as you see here, this is our new cross cube system, our rack cube system. That can be 3 different things. That can be your bar, that can be your buffet display, and we can drop in complete cooking component parts, pasta stations, hot holding, cooking stations, and very simply configured in a modular setup, as you see there. Ambient lighting, and very, very simple to use. This will all pack up and wheel away for storage, but we see it, as a piece of furniture. It can easily sit there, and you can put flower displays or whatever it might be on there. Where are we looking? We are starting to revolutionise the power in what we do. We are pioneering battery technology into our cooking stations. We have a very small battery pack that we can use that will enable you to cook for up to 6 hours with induction cooking. We're integrating battery technology into our conference and seminar tables, so you're not tethered to power points. We can integrate wireless charging. We are pioneering media tables, so your buffet tables can have a screen either on the top or on a panel, which can show menus. It can show corporate logos. You can even stream a live event from a corporate suite directly onto the screens. We are introducing ID, so digital ID, that can be table placements, it can be a buffet, food descriptions. I mean, nobody wants to write samosas 20 times a day. You can literally change from a little app on a phone. It can be name placements on tables. You can send a little message to table 5 saying, Don, quieten down. So yeah, technology is a big focus for us moving forward. Also, we, particularly in these larger venues, we understand the challenges of moving operating equipment around the venue. Sometimes it can be, it can be from one side to the other. So we're integrating mobile powered assistance. So your table, your big table caddy with your conference tables or banquet tables can be pulled with a battery-powered mobile unit. You can see here some of the cooking components that we can drop into any of our systems, any of our tables, our new rack cube system. We are constantly looking at the latest food trends, so we can integrate things like sous vide, drop-in sous vide units. You have all the traditional woks there, cooking hot and cold, as Nick alluded to, hot and cold wells. We can do shawarma stations. We do a lot of shawarma stations in the Middle East, for example. We recently did, I think it was for 4 seasons in Dubai. They wanted a mobile station with a tandoor. So if any of you know what a tandoor is, it's a charcoal-fired clay oven. So we managed to find a clay oven that we could integrate into our units. So I think what we offer is an enormous amount of flexibility and multi-purpose use of the products that we do. So that's a little bit about us.
Any questions? Now we're at the end of the day. I think if we can just summarize, you know, what this panel was to try and provide the fact that there's a new model out there. And the new model is to look at your FF&E, your operating supplies and equipment, as a purchasing agency that can actually do it all for you. Working with your operations departments, working with your designers, and then working with great companies like IHS and Spring USA, etc., who are not just sitting there selling product. They have solutions. You know, we're talking about venues that are 200,000 to 300,000 square meters. As much as we keep talking about hotels, there's very few hotels at the size of stadiums and arenas. And so you really can't just buy something off the shelf. Not for stadiums, not for arenas. We've been doing that for 50 years, and frankly, ladies and gentlemen, we've been getting it wrong. And that's why every 6 or 7 years you're finding that there's somebody who's come up with a new way of doing it, a new trend, and now you're behind. So we want to just give thanks to ALSD to letting us come and speak today and giving you an idea for a new option. It's always cultural. Some things, you know, have always been done the same way. This is how we're going to do it. But I think you'll find that by looking to work with a company like Parker, IHS, Spring USA, etc., you're going to find purchasing agencies and product lines that are now geared for the sports world and entertainment world, and that don't just work in a local restaurant or sometimes even a small hotel. If there's no other questions, we'll be available, and we just thank you very much, and we thank you, Bill.